What's up and welcome back to Cleats to Whistle podcast. I'm Brad Valdez.
I'm Brandon Meredith.
Hey, the boy is back. You're here on time too. Hey, coach, did he ever show up late to any of your practices?
No, it just must be a you thing, man. I don't know.
Man, I got to start docking his pay.
Well, maybe we interview people when I have an off day. That helps.
Yeah, sorry, man. But we are here back at Fern Creek, man. We have our first ever coaches show, man, just to get the behind the scenes look at your 2025 season. But we have friend of the podcast, hashtag Primo Status of the podcast, and this is Coach Josh Abell. Welcome back, Coach.
Appreciate you having me. Always good to have you guys on campus. Instead of the cold garage out there. No, I'm just kidding. No.
It was cold when you were out.
It was cold that day.
It was cold, man. But yeah, man.
You've made some renovations. You got a heater in there now.
Oh, nice.
Fine. That thing gets hot though too sometimes,
sure.
man.
It does.
Especially when we're in the late night of the behind or what do we call it? After hours.
Yeah.
After hours.
After dark.
Yeah.
Cleats to Whistle after dark.
It gets wild over there, man. But we are back. Listen, we're going to get the call to action knocked out of the way. Make sure you comment, like, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're almost at 1,300 subscribers. So, man, we are grinding. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it. But, yes, make sure and share this out, man. This is what we do. We try to go around and introduce you to new coaches around the city of Louisville, and hell, we're branching out to the state, so it's a pretty good time. But we get you to know the leaders of these great these young men, and it's just a good time. So make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Okay, now we got just one more housekeeping, Coach, and then I'm serious. We'll get right into this. But this is but we've been talking about this for about a month now. But this is the announcement. Okay, we are having a subscriber appreciation day on May 13th at 6 o'clock, and it's going to be held at Top Golf. So this is basically for you to come out and be part of the pack, man.
We got, 4 different coaches lined up already?
Yes.
Just kind of come on, chat with us for about 20 minutes, hang out. So, I mean, we'll announce those names, I guess, later on down the road. Here in a bit. Should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a great time. But we're trying to be a high energy. So come be part of the pack, man, and ask your questions. And, Coach, you can show up, too. Maybe we can have a little bit of cold beverages or something.
Tell us how good we are, how bad we are, how much you hate us. We don't care.
But, yeah,
come on out.
Boo us or whatever you got to do, man. But, yeah, that is the big announcement. But, man, this is going to be a great day. Yeah, the guest list is loaded. We're going to talk some rivalry stuff. We're going to talk – I don't know.
Some college, some high school, a little bit everywhere.
It's all over, man. So, but yes, that is the big announcement. Top Golf, May 13th at 6 o'clock. Be there and come be part of the pack. Now, you ready, Coach?
Let's roll. So
let's get into this.
You lost me at Top Golf, man. I'm no good at that. So I just tuned out the last few. No, I'm just kidding. I'll be there.
Listen, this is an open floor podcast, Coach. You can let them know about your fundraisers. You can hey, just tell them what you got going on.
Well, good segue. Our biggest fundraiser of the year is always Oaks and Derby Day. So if you're out there, come to the Paddock Grill. The freshest food, the coldest beer and other beverages. So come and patronize us out there. That's the best thing we can do for us.
Let's go. And Coach, you were part of those little shindigs over there with him, weren't you?
Oh yeah.
How was it?
It's long days, and I mean it kind of sucks. Your feet hurt after the first day, and then it's like, shit, I gotta get up and do this again in the morning. But I mean, when you see the dollar amount at the end of everything, it really makes it worth it because we've got a lot of cool stuff here because of Oaks and Derby Day.
Well, and it's changed so much too, like from when the last time that he did it, even over the last couple of years, when they went all inclusive, things got a little bit easier, and it's not nearly. We actually have more parents signed up this year to work when we haven't. Well, last year was a lot. This year's probably our second most group, just because last year was kind of fun for them. I mean, they got to sit there and watch and judge drunk people act like idiots. So I mean, that's always fun.
People watching just fun.
People watching. And there was one dad that he's class of 25 graduate. I'm pretty sure he disappeared for about 2 hours to go bet on some ponies, but I won't hold it against him.
So we can't really judge anybody for doing that. I've been to those events with you a few times, buddy.
Yes. So, man, let's just get into this podcast and really, spotlight this, this 2025 class. But before we do that, man, let's show some love to that senior class. This guy, what is your tenure? How long have you been here?
This will be my 12th season as the head coach here. I got here as a teacher in 2010. Coached the 3 seasons prior to that elsewhere. But my first season as an assistant coach was 2011. And then I got hired in 2014. Yeah.
Okay, because we're always talking off camera, like, I think this and this and this and that. And I was like, well, now we could just talk to the man and ask him.
I know it's been a long time. I know it's second most tenured.
In JCPS years, that's a career.
Yeah. And you know what? Your Mount Rushmore. Remember? I don't know. Did you remember his Mount Rushmore?
I remember 3 of them, I believe.
Which ones were they?
Lamarius Kinslow was a man.
Oh, yeah.
He was Kyrie Hawkins was an absolute animal, but I think he was a 1-2 punch with Shamar Bryant. Raymond Wingate ended up going to Valdosta State and playing. He was great. Trying to think of some of our defensive guys. Vashawn Green, who went to Indiana State for a bit. He was, you give me some time, I can get you 4 dudes.
He threw me under the bus, like, just randomly, like, hey, give me your Mount Rushmore. And I'm like, shit, I don't know. Like, they're okay. I just rattled off 4 names and probably forgot some people that I should have put on there.
So do you got any like take off and then add on to your list?
Yeah, obviously you got to add Moten, right? You got to add Moten to the list of dudes. He's, if things continue for him the way that they've started, and he'll be one of, if not the greatest from this school. And this school's had a lot, even, plenty when I was a player and way before then, right? Your Bernard Jacksons, your Marios, all those guys, your Francois Jackson, all those guys that played here all those years ago. But if Travis continues the trajectory that he's on, I mean, he'll hands down be the best, prospect that's come through here for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Now, spotlight some of those other guys, man. This guy, he had a dude that he brung up, and it just, they have that special bond. Talk about those seniors.
Yeah, it's going to be it's probably the most difficult group of dudes that we've had to replace all at once, for sure. I think we've had stronger classes, like where they've been maybe concentrated in as one, where they were all pretty good across the board. Last year we had some really great, some of the best that we've had at certain positions. And when you have so many of those guys, it's going to be tough to replace. But when you have, KP was essentially a 5th year for us, because he played. COVID year was his 8th grade year, so he played up, and so he got to kind of be a part of our system early on. Got a lot of clock his sophomore year, and then he ran the show junior and senior year. So he will obviously be, and he looks the part, right? He just looks like a quarterback.
When I'd seen him somewhere, and I was like, from one year to the next, you really, you get shocked because you're like, man, you're kind of skinny, but then you come back that senior year, then you're just like you're filled out, and he looked impressive last year.
That's always my favorite. When I don't have to be down here in the off season, when I've got guys that run the weight room program, it's always great because I can take that 3 or 4 months away, do the behind the scenes stuff, and I'm sure we'll chat about this in a minute. But when you come back down and you see the guys, or when you see them in the hallways, and it's that junior to senior year bump where they grow, right? They get thicker, they get leaner, right? They're losing that. They call it the baby fat for a reason, right? And it's all kind of melting off of them. And that definitely happened for KP, and he's really lean. And the irony about that kid is that if we really, really wanted to, a couple years ago, we could have got him a 6th year in the COVID kid. Plus, he graduates at 17. He's just a really, really young senior. Yeah. So, going to Lindsay, I think Lindsay's going to be a good fit for him. And I'm sure he's told him a bunch of times, if he sticks with it, sky's the limit for him. I know it's cliche, but that's the truth of it. It really is. So,
yeah,
he's definitely got room to grow. But I mean, he's a good kid. Good kid. Works hard. I hope to see it play out well for him.
Yeah, and you touched on Moten. You know what I mean? If you guys don't know, he's at University of Michigan. He's Kentucky's sack leader, the record holder right now, right?
Correct.
Okay. Just make sure you pay attention. He's going to be a true freshman, so I don't know if he's going to get a lot of clock, but impressive young man. He's actually on the pod. I actually put everything in here so you can go watch that as well. But then you had, TJ Cothran. he's a really good kid. I was very impressed with him because I feel like he could do a lot of different things.
Every year we've whether we've developed this, whether it's been intentional or unintentional, every year we have one of those jack of all trades, the ace up your sleeve guy that you can just do essentially anything that you want with. And those guys really blossom. The year before was Landon Edwards. You guys saw that at the All-Star game. Last year was definitely TJ Cothran. And when you're a coach, you're just like your dad, right? You're not supposed to have like a favorite kid, but it happens. And I think TJ knows that he's one of my favorite guys that I've ever coached. It probably because when he first started, he was not one of my favorite guys. We clashed quite a bit his first couple years, and then we just kind of our relationship kind of blossomed from there. He was just so smart. He studies football. I've been a big Chris Keevers fan for a long time. I feel like Chris Keevers has been at UIndy almost as long as I've been here, and they've always recruited our kids, but we've never been able to really send a guy there. And I took some kids to the UIndy mega camp a couple years ago, and that was several years ago that I took those 2018ish, and I just fell in love with the campus and their program and all those things. And so I'm really excited that he's there, that we finally got a guy to play for those guys, and I think it's going to be a really good fit for him. TJ, if an inch taller, a half inch taller, a half second faster, he's a high prospect for sure.
Yeah.
So in today's era of portal and all that kind of stuff, you never know where 1 or 2 years at outside linebacker UIndy might take you. So I'm super excited for that kid. Great kid, leader in the building. Incredibly charismatic, Riz, all the Riz.
Yeah, all of it.
All the Riz, all the aura, that's what he's got. So, I will definitely miss that kid both athletically and personally for sure. So,
yeah.
I knew once you put out a personalized, so excited for TJ to be at UIndy, I think this is great. Once you to know him, he doesn't post often on social media. To see you actually do that speaks to the level of the relationship with TJ you have.
It was, and I'll tell you this too. This is since we're talking about the 25 guys. One thing that I can, and I'm not a guy that's going to pump my chest, right? I'm not a guy that I've never pushed college athletics for myself. I've never used it as part of my resume. I've never said, yeah, I did that or I got this kid. And I think the grownups that do that kind of shit need to go. Okay. It's what's best for the kid. No matter if they've got to look by, top branch U, right? No matter where if it's not a good fit, it's not a good fit.
Exactly.
And as the class of 25, I was super involved with some guys and not very involved with any guys, but my level of involvement, a sense of pride for me is that I feel like every one of those guys is in the best place that they can be. I think Darius has got a great situation with Lindsey Wilson.
Yes.
When I look at the depth chart, when I talk with the coaches at Southern Illinois, I think Pat's in a really good position. I think that Pat, again, just because of who he is going to stay there and develop and really grow into a phenomenal tight end. So I think that's the thing that I wear that I'm super proud of is that all of these guys, and we still have one or two that very well could end up being on a campus somewhere, have to finish senior year strong, but I'm very pleased with where they decided to call home and how good of a fit that is for those guys. Yeah.
Yeah. And Patrick Carr,
your favorite guy.
My dude.
You shout him out every time we talk.
Patrick Carr, he's just impressive, man. You see the kid, you know what I mean? He's just I never got the chance to get him on the pod, you know what I mean? But just he looks like a well-spoken kid, but also just that little shy, you know what I mean? But he's just a hard worker. But the utility knife for this damn football team was everything, man.
Absolutely. You won't find a more coachable dude, and if I'm not supposed to tell you that TJ is one of my favorites, I'm certainly not supposed to tell you that Pat was a favorite of mine as well. I think he knows that. We had a really, his last year I became the de facto flex tight end kind of coach. But I tell this story all the time. I'll never forget his sophomore year. We're playing a playoff game at Manual Stadium, first round playoff game, and we're completely outmanned, right? It's the end of the season and we don't have anything. We've got dudes and we competed with them for a half. And, but one of the things that I told the guys prior to is, man, this is about growth. We want to see the things show up on film that we've been working on all season.
Right.
And I can tell you there was 10 balls that were thrown to Pat at some point in the year where he's, catching it back here. right? He's not slowing his body down. He's outrunning the pass. He's trying to stop his momentum, and either it's an incomplete pass or it's deflected or whatever. And in that game, when we were still somewhat in the game before it got out of hand, he runs a pretty much a corner route, and he stops and high points. It was severely underthrown. He stops and high points it, and if you would have saw me celebrating on the sideline, you would have thought that was the go-ahead touchdown. But he was just a sponge kid that if he was here in 8th grade was going to be at one of the privates because he was going to, you're huge, come play for us, This is a coach's podcast. We know what we're talking. We come on, right?
Yes,
we know
exactly.
Right? We know.
Yes.
But he had moved down from Wisconsin, and he had relatives here, and then some of them were going to go to Fern Creek, and so let's go.
Go, man. I really did. I really enjoyed this senior class because I've seen you guys like the past year. I've seen you like 4 times live.
Right.
So I seen Malone, I've seen Landon, I've seen, yeah, they're 24, but I'm like, and I seen this class grow. Travis was just impressive at the Fairdale game when it was hot, scorching on a Sunday, and he was still balling.
Yeah.
1-0 on Sundays, buddy.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But I just wanted you to show some love to those guys, man.
Oh, yeah.
I know it took like 10 minutes, but I don't care because those dudes were a focal point. I feel like in the state of Kentucky, man, because there was a lot of stuff that they made their imprint.
Absolutely. And again, it's hard to talk. I took 10 minutes and 4 kids, and it's hard to talk about, the other 21 dudes, but they were all the same way. I didn't have a headache on this year's senior class. I mean, they were headaches early on. There was some that were driving me to drink, right? And you don't have to drive me too hard, but I wish I could go through and name each one of them. A kid like a Nathan Lang who came through and really never played football and became pretty much a utility lineman anywhere we needed to put him. And we were able to evolve. Our offense improved drastically after week 4 simply because we moved him to center. I mean, that's what it boiled down to, and Keegan Lurge had a phenomenal year. Will Moore just did whatever you wanted, you needed him to do. Nope. Jaden Samuel, we had some new kids that came through. So like I said, I could go on for days. Really pleased with those dudes. And I don't think you'll find another class of great guys as right. They were, really.
Right.
Really.
With you stepping back and coming into the podcast world, you know what I mean, and talking ball, talking to meeting coaches, you know what I mean? You guys had that great bond. What's it like, and what are you going to miss, not being here?
Man, I mean, just as cliche as it is, everything, but like, we talked off air, like I helped build the lockers here. I learned how to do certain things in every different aspect of coaching behind the scenes. So like, I don't know, the road trips, loading up the trailer and driving the trailer. Yeah, you're going to have to find somebody to do that. I ain't doing that. No, just like you can take a little bit from every part of what you do. So, I mean, of course you're going to miss the kids and messing around with them and Travis looking up. Don't look up. You're going to miss stuff, but it's been fun. Like, I don't know. Ask me again in August. I don't know.
Now let's talk truth now. You know what I mean? You used to cut the grass here. You used to manicure it. Like, did that make a determination of you not coming back too as well?
No. I jokingly say that it did. I'll joke with all the boys and be like, yeah, Troy couldn't afford to keep me on staff, so had to go spend $5 million to replace me with turf. But no, like it was work schedule, just not being able to get here on time. That the grass had kind of been one of my primary roles the past couple seasons, just due to work scheduling. But
it looked good though. The grass was the grass here has been phenomenal, man.
I'm not trying to get my guy fired because we could say some pretty nasty stuff regarding the situation.
Look at all the behind the scenes stuff, man. Coaches fighting all the time, right?
Why can't we keep the grass? That's it.
I know. I love it. I loved it.
I reflected on this as well, and we love it, and we love the end result. We love the end result. But there was a week in late July. You remember this?
Oh yeah.
We can't keep doing that, right? That's just not sustainable. Even if there were 4 of us, that was just a lot to do. We had to actually go out and purchase a is it a lawn sweeper?
Yeah,
Is that what it's called?
yeah,
We
that's
had
what you
to,
call it.
Really?
yeah,
We had that much thatch.
it was just so many clippings on there. We just couldn't. I mean, it took us literally 2 days to cut. It was a whole week of rain.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
It was your typical.
We had a mower down.
We had 20. It was a 25-minute downpour followed by 95-degree heat, and that stuff just grew and grew and grew. And yeah, that was rough. That was and I'll just tell you from a person, and I'm going to speak for him a little bit. I'm speaking for me, but for him a little bit too. Some of the stuff that you have to do that is the unsung hero stuff, it 100% weighs on you. 100% weighs on you. And that's why I joke, but it's also serious. Like 12 years in JCPS is a lifetime. Because unfortunately, the people, coaching to a lot of people is play calling, right? Coaching is play calling. That's what they believe coaching. It's always a great coach. All you can, and especially these young guys, they want to put on a headset and a visor and a backpack and call plays. That's not coaching. There's so much more that goes into it. And I can tell you that I'm proud that we've fundraised a lot of money, but if I didn't have to work as hard fundraising, I might have another 5 or 6 years left in me. But those kind of things that you have to do to make true public schools successful, they can wear you down. And stuff like that too. Like I said, he had 2 twin girls at home, and I've got my kids at home, and we were up here for a long time. Now we made the most of it. We had fun, right?
Yeah.
But it's stuff like that it'll definitely,
get to you.
It'll get to you. Again, that's not what pushed him out, and it's not what's going to push me out. It's the time consideration, right? But yeah, 100%.
Man, that week.
I'm telling you.
Leave work after a 10-hour day, come here, be on the mower till 10 p.m., wake up at 4:30 in the morning, get back after it. We did probably 6 hours worth of cutting every night for 6-ish days straight.
Really?
On top of the stuff that on top of the other stuff you're supposed to do.
Holy smokes.
It was a good problem to have. Don't get me wrong, but yeah. It's the robot, right? The robot, the same thing. Like, it's great. It does it for you, but there's a lot of hours that go into that prior too.
Yeah. We call this the Coaches Show. It's the Cleats to Whistle podcast. We're talking ball. We're talking about, but you know what? Let's talk about like some advice that you would give to a young coach coming into this game. I know a lot of them, like you said, they want to just jump right in to be a coordinator and not really take that time, to be an O-line coach and really do, study, like a guy we talked off camera. That's what it's about. But what's a piece of advice like you would give one coach?
I don't know that I could put all of the advice into one, quip, right? What I can tell you, I think say yes to whatever opportunities your head coach or your administration gives you. The more you can do, the more experience you have to do. That would be number one. And number two, no one cares about a title. No, at the end of the day, your friends will pat you in the back. Oh, you're the OC. Oh, you're the run game coordinator. Oh, great. And they pat you on the back and smack you in the ass or whatever. But none of that matters. What matters is what impact you're having on your kids immediately and then beyond. Right. Like I said, coaching is not play calling. If you want to be a coach, you need to go and watch some podcasts, right? Listen to some podcasts, watch some documentaries, watch some 30 for 30s. I don't know what to tell you to do, but it's not, coaching is more than putting on, like you said, putting on a headset and throwing some signals out there. And when a kid scores, thinking it was you that did it, that's not coaching. Yeah. So say yes to your opportunities, be a sponge, soak it all up. And no one cares about your title.
I love it.
Can you tell based on when you asked me that question who I coached for or coached with? Because my advice was like for new assistant coaches, just like soak it all in, show up to everything.
Show up, but you said show up. Yeah. And that's the main thing. But don't try to be the OC or the DC or the head coach at the time.
I look back at when I was in my 20s, and there were times that I probably felt like I knew more than what I did. But in comparison to what these newer guys are going through, there's zero. I remember having a lot of personal doubt when I got the job. Like, am I really ready for this thing? Like, I don't know that I'm ready for this. And there are some guys that I think that in their mind, we'll call it arrogance, call it ignorance. I don't know what you call it, but they feel like they're ready for these things before they've put in their dues or they've really invested the time. And I'll tell you and I had this conversation with mentee, I guess, a few weeks ago. in JCPS specifically, I think with any kind of large urban school district, your knowledge of the game is probably at the bottom of the totem pole, what they need from you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, they don't know. They don't care that you went and played at this school for this coach. They don't care about that part. Can you do these things? Now, out in the county, out where there's some rich tradition, that probably matters, right? But when you're teaching in a true urban public school, the football knowledge is probably third or fourth on their list of priorities.
Yeah. It's the bonding time on a ride home, or giving them a tart ticket, or you know what I mean. It's just that thing. Giving them a meal or something.
It's when they've screwed up in Miss Johnson's class. Are you going to be the one to give them a stern talking to? Mm-hmm. And are you going to suspend them for the first quarter, or hey, we got to win, so this dude's got to play?
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true. That's a. Hey, we got off the podcast, but this is something that needs, you know what I mean, because we have some issues, around the city. Maybe young coaches need to hear this, and that's what it's about. So you want to get back on get off our soapbox.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You knew we were going to take a couple of tangents when you got me on here. That's just how I roll. So and I love it because you know what I mean. Maybe somebody out there, a young guy, is listening to this and really has to understand. You got to put in them huddle hours, because you're going to see some guys. You see the huddle minutes, and see some guy with 3 hours. Then you see one guy with 32 minutes or even 7 minutes.
When there's coaches that are under players and hours of film watch, you question it a little bit. Like, we can all see the whole library. You can see how many hours everybody's watching.
Right. And yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It's just like, what are you going to really sacrifice to really learn the game and actually come out here and be more, like you said, in the urban, in the urban schools, that you really got to do that though, and I just love it. I just love this podcast because it's real talk. Yeah. It's not, we're not pulling punches. We're actually telling the young guys, hey, get off your ass and do the work.
Hey, when like you said, when you're the de facto OG, when you're it's Coach Wolf and me in the hierarchy of tenure. I think you're allowed to say a couple things. So
I love it.
You've been here long enough to do it. That's for sure.
Yeah. Hey, yes. Okay. So now, since this guy left, do you got any changes of the staff besides Coach?
Yeah. Well, and we joke about it. He's not replaceable. The benefit of not having him here is that a lot of the things that he did, we are hopefully in a position that we won't need as much of. Right. And not just the field stuff, but even like some of the improvements we made to the locker room and the weight room and things like that. So I think because of the status of our program, we can probably afford to kind of downsize in our staff and not have as many, support guys and Monday and Friday guys. But yeah, I tell you that the hire I'm most excited about is Coach Jerry Hall, who alumni from here. He was Newburgh Middle School's head coach for a while, and he works in our building, and so it kind of just worked itself out. He told me that he wasn't gonna return to Newburgh, and so we chatted for a little bit, and I think the middle school guys have a stigma, and I unfortunately had that same stigma on some of the middle school guys. But after talking to him, I was like, hey, we got to get you on, So it's always great to have alum on. It matters more to those guys.
Yep.
He's got a real good relationship with a lot of the kids we still pull from Newburgh Middle School. Not as much as we used to, but we still do pull those kids here. And so those kids that walk in the building and see a familiar face, it's going to be easy for those guys to transition here. So had another young guy that he's going to be a good mentor. I don't know what his coaching is going to be like yet, but in terms he lived through some stuff. And he lived through some stuff while he was here, and the fact that he wants to come back and give back to the kids is great. And I think there are some kids that could really use his guidance. So those are the only two. We've got a ace or two up the sleeve. Maybe we'll see here in a couple weeks. There's no rush on getting guys hired. We have the staff in place that we need to kind of move forward. So anybody else that we have from this point on would just be an added benefit.
There you go. I love it. Your schedule. You know what I mean? You play some quality opponents.
I think that I'm probably the most satisfied with this schedule that I've been in quite a while. It's very competitive. It's got some of your perennial powerhouses on there, and it's got some new faces. Big fan of Justin Grundy over at Barstown. Don't know him super, super well. We chatted a little bit last year, and it just makes sense to play those schools. We were trying to get a series going called the Battle of Barstown Road. We still might try to get that going.
Okay, I love it.
Kind of like a Bullitt County Bowl situation. My guy knows all about that stuff. Playing for a thing. We gotta find a big thing, right?
Yeah.
A BFT, right? Got to find something that we can play for. But man, they've always been really good. And I watched them play the first half of Franklin County last year, and I was like, damn, maybe I shouldn't have scheduled this game. These guys are pretty tough. So Barstown is one of my favorite ones that we've added. We did need to kind of stay a little bit more local this year. Not for any other reason than, hey, we just haven't done it in a while, right? We've always played a couple of your out-of-county teams, but adding Atherton and Ballard back on the schedule are going to be big. Moore used to be a rival here back in the 70s and 80s. When we talk about a big thing, there's a barrel that's here on campus.
Okay.
That Fern Creek and Moore used to play for, and it got particularly more rivalry-ish right around the busing time. My dad went to Moore High School, and he tells me that kind of stuff all the time. So I think that's going to be good for the community. And then I think bringing Seneca back in the fold. And shout out to Coach Davidson. Guys before just didn't want to put us back on the schedule. Now, I understand everybody's programs in different circumstances, but Seneca and Fern Creek to me has to happen. It's just been, I've been here for a long time. I've been in the city a long time. It's just a really good environment to play in.
Yes, and I've actually played in that when I came over with Preston Smith. I was over there in his staff, and we came over. Man, electric atmosphere too.
Yes.
It was low. It was packed here.
Yes, and ideally they're here to open up the stadium for us, and then ideally we'll be over there to open up their stadium next year. So having it week one is going to be a big step in kind of kicking off the season for both schools. And again, we're going to be the podcast of cliches. A rising tide lifts all boats. When Fern Creek's better, hopefully Seneca is better, and vice versa. And there were some years there were some really, really competitive games, and I'm hoping to get back to that for sure. And Coach Davis is doing the right things to get it there.
Yeah.
I was very excited when you sent out the schedule, the updates. I was very excited to see Bardstown on there. Like that's a real nice addition to somebody you don't play very often, but they're still super competitive year in, year out. I think it's really going to be a really good game.
It's far enough away to call it a nice, road trip, but it's not so far that you're having to get a lot of coach buses and things like that either. So yeah, it should be fun. Fun.
Listen, I'm hogging up this airtime. You know what I mean? You got any questions for your guy? You know what I mean? Yeah, you're back home.
It's hard to ask him a question because we still meet every couple weeks. Go have some brews up here at Roosters. Probably going to do it after this. I mean, it's hard to come up with a genuine question because as much as I can sit up here and joke and be like, oh, how are you going to replace me? Da da da. Our relationship is just a little deeper than that. Like I know too much about the guy.
Yeah, and that's why I was just like, man, I don't want to put you on the spot. That's why I'm like, with you bringing up the stuff that you brought up, and we talked about the 25s, and you know what I mean? This is just a great episode because I think, if a young coach is watching, you're going to really understand, this is a really good bond. And that's what you want to, you know what I mean? That's what you want. You want to have that brotherhood on a staff to where you could, go to a wedding.
We were both at each other's weddings. We were both married by the same guy who happens to be part of the Fern Creek Church up here that cooks the meals for every Friday.
But that's what I'm saying. Maybe the young guy will see this and be like, I want that, and really understand you got to have that bond, and you're going to go through them battles with each other.
It's interesting to bring this up, and I would say you're an OG in the coaching realm, right? Because of the guys that you've worked with and worked for before. That is something that I think is missing a little bit. And I think there's there's some give and take. And you talk to certain guys in the city, and they have a very business approach to athletics. And that's fine. It works, right? You're going to get things done, and that's great. I've just been a community guy. That's just how I've been. And I'll tell the guys all the time, if your wife is upset, you get to blame me. Right, she doesn't need to blame Fern Creek football. Just blame it on Coach Abell, right?
Yes.
And we want your wives and your kids involved in the program. We want them to be not just games. We want them to be at events. And I've always tried to do that. I don't think that I've done a good job with a couple guys, here and there throughout the staff. But for the most part, we've always been that way. And it's interesting to see what the dynamics of each staff in the city kind of are and what that looks like, because it can be drastically different. Yeah.
Yeah, and we've touched on a lot of lot of the coaching staffs. You know what I mean? And you do have some that are really, really bonded, and you can tell. But with that being said, your primo status. I don't know if you understand what that means, man.
I don't know what that means.
You've been on, I think, 5 times now. I think, hey, so you're part of the family now, man. But that's in the Mexican culture, we call everybody primos.
Primo, okay.
So if you guys don't know, hashtag primo status, that's what it is. You're part of this family now, man.
I love it.
So that was crazy that you just brung that up. It's just that's what I want to build with this podcast. I want all the coaches to hear it, and I want that. Also I want our community to get to know who you are. Because the stigma of football is getting pretty bad with the head stuff and everything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this game builds so much character for the young man going into the future, and that's what I see. It's the positive. Yes, there's chances of something can happen, but if you got great coaches and leaders that really care for the young men, I think that this game is better for the whole world. You know what I mean?
Who would have thought a 3-minute phone conversation, and this is the bond we now have a decade later?
Yeah.
Like, that's how he hired me on a 3 question. I don't know if it was exactly 3 minutes, but he asked me 3 things. You remember what they were?
Nope. Help me out.
Can you show up? Can you understand the diversity? And can you control a room of 15 to 20 kids? That was it. He hired me based off of that.
Really?
Off of a phone call.
I love it, man. This game is it's so fun because you get that like right now I'm creating bonds with guys that I've never met. You know what I mean? And that's what I like. And dude, we can go on forever, but this is what it's about. Cleats Stoolsville podcast is about these guys, man, getting notification or getting gratification somehow, some way to get out here on a Friday night and really support these guys.
When he and I chatted about that, and this is not like blowing smoke or anything or like a shameless plug for the podcast, but when he and I chatted about it a few weeks ago or a few months ago when he told me what the plan was, I was like, and so I listened to a couple episodes when he was on there, and I said, what's funny, man, is that I for a while I would listen for like some intel, right? I would listen as a coach, as a competitor. I'm listening for some intel. I'm listening for some locker room, some bulletin board material. But then the more you go along, like you said, you end up learning a little bit more about these dudes. And I talk about it with Ellison and Nino and a couple guys with our local association. Again, I think it's getting better. But it was definitely missing for a while. I know it's stuff that Watson would chat about, because he was definitely an OG. I remember, he's been around a long time, and the nature of a room full of high school coaches is way different now than what it was when you guys were probably first starting, And it's like, man, it's not your ego, dude. Like, who cares? Like we're all here for kids. It's about the game. It's about and. Some guys I think have lost that.
Yes, and that's what I was going to say. How has this game changed from when you got here? You know what I mean? To right now, I know it's the Deion Sanders look good, play good. You know what I mean? Do you think that is like a psyche that the kids are learning, or do you think that's just the times now?
I think part of it is just the sign of the times. I think there's a degree, and I talk about this a bunch in my classroom too, of the pendulum swinging, right? And when I first started, it was kind of in this tick towards some of those things you've chatted about, and I do think that some of your more old school philosophies are making a return, and you're seeing it in some of these kids. I think my biggest concern, not just for high school football, but for high school sports in general, again, this is going to be low-hanging fruit, but this is my concern, is what this transfer situation is doing for sports. Kids are losing the ability, and I see this happening even in my own family, that these young people are losing the ability to fight through resilience. It's either I quit, I don't want to do this sport anymore because I'm not automatically good at it, or I'll just leave and go some other place. And this game, in my opinion, has, like you said, it's important for everybody to be a part of football because of what it teaches you when things aren't going well, right? When it's all the cliches. It's the adversity and the resiliency and all that kind of stuff. But when you remove that, then what is football? It's a contact sport that you could get concussed or paralyzed with, and no mom wants that. Moms want things that are going to make baby boys into big men. and nowadays make young ladies into grown women for sure. So again, getting on another soapbox. You asked me what I think's changed. I think that's my biggest concern about what's happening moving forward is this idea that, oh, it's not going well with me here. Let me just move school. Oh, my AAU team sent me on the bench. Well, I'm going to go to this AAU team instead. It's just bad.
It is bad. It is bad. Man, look at us. Hey, three dudes. We're supposed to be a coaching show. We're on our soapbox, man. We're up here, man. Hey, you guys are down here. We're looking down. Yeah. Look at look at him.
Never that. Just seeing the state of everything.
Yeah, it's so funny. No, and that was a joke. I'm just joking. But yeah, no, this was good. But I just want here like a couple players we need to watch this year. You had that massive class leave. But your quarterback. You know what I mean. He got into play some reps. But talk about a couple dudes on your team this year.
I'll be the first to tell you it's going to be a process. I can probably name you some names right now, and then in a month those names will change, and then a month from there those names will change again. We've got a smaller, both physically smaller and numbers wise smaller team, probably as good as we've been in a long time at the skill spots. Okay. I think, we go back to those guys from before. I think TJ would tell you he wasn't blazing fast, right? He wasn't running 4.4s, but there are some guys in the locker room that are pretty damn fast. So from a skills perspective, I think we're going to be pretty tough. I do. We're going to have to kind of marry that with the bigs and find out what that's going to look like. But James White, I think, is the first name that I got to drop out there. He will be the 6th or 7th. I think he's number 6 or number 7 of this bloodline to come through, and almost all of them have been dudes. Me and his dad got a pretty good relationship. So I guess it happens when you coach 7 progenies, right?
Yeah.
But he's going to be he started getting a lot more involved in the offense last year. It'll start that way this year too. You got just like it is nowadays, the football is a quarterback-centric sport. So I'm very excited for Jansen Brumley. He's got the mechanics and the tools to be a really good quarterback. Again, we've got to match his skills with what we've got in the locker room.
Yep.
So that's going to be a fun task for us. And then there's a bunch of other guys that played significant roles last year: Cage Fannin, John Smith, J.J. Jackson, Calvé Jackson, the Pickett's. We've got a handful of guys that played roles in last year's team that obviously those roles are going to be expanded. Excited for Dallas Hankins, hell of a year last year up front. I think in a different year he'd be in one of your top prospects.
Right.
He's just an Oompa Loompa, man. He's like me. He's a short and stumpy guy. So like I said, I could go through all of them because, like I said before, where you had a group of guys up here last year and you had some dudes here, we're all kind of conjuncted right here is where those guys are skill wise. Couple youngs that I think are going to be real good. I do. You'll like this, but Big Pat's younger brother is going to be. I think he's got something. I don't want to go too far. I'm not a big believer in positive reinforcement, but I got to tell you, dude's got it.
Hey, there you go.
I'm excited for Kai Sean.
Kai Sean's should have a year.
You talk about a fast dude.
Yeah,
he knows one speed and it ain't slow.
Yeah, like I said, I can go on for days, and I would only name all these guys just because I don't know who the alphas are right now.
Right.
You had 26 alphas just leave the program. And I'll just tell you, this is the Coaches Podcast. When I looked, and you can, again, ask him, when we looked at this a few months ago, I was like, man, I was really dreading this. I'm like, oh, my God, what did I step back into? But over the last couple of weeks, I'm actually pretty excited about it. My attitude's changed a little bit, and I said, man, this is going to be a really good challenge. This is going to be a really fun thing to see happen. We're going to be able to experiment and do some different things on both sides of the ball we haven't done in a long time. And hey, I can always lean on, hey, man, we lost 26 seniors. What do you want me to do, right? We got to find replacements.
Right.
So what was going to be something that was making me not, kind of dread the season a little bit, I've now taken it on as a challenge. Like, this is going to be fun.
Let's go. Hey, and that's what it's about, though, giving you something to really inspire you to want to coach this season.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Exactly what it
Oh,
was.
man, this has been a phenomenal episode, man. I enjoyed it. I just love talking ball, and anytime we can get, a coach on and actually have the real talk, you know what I mean? Yeah. And let these young guys know, man, get in the damn game and be a student of it before you want to be.
Be a sponge, man.
Be a sponge, baby. Be a sponge. Hashtag be a sponge. Oh, man, I'm creating all these. Created hashtag be a sponge, baby. Let's go. Okay, and then the last question I have is what's going to be your motto for this season? What's the message?
So I met with the de facto leaders of the group. Both self-identified and coach-identified group, and we did this. I do this every year. We come up with a theme. Work over want. Work over want. Work is greater than want is how it's going to appear. But these guys know what their task is. They're excited for it, but they're probably a little bit freaked out a little bit too. A lot more Friday night time than they've anticipated. A lot of guys, that haven't seen the field, going to see the field, and so they understand that it's about the work they put in. They can't just want to be good. They can't want to win games. They have to work to do that. That's the theme.
Let's go.
He's a good one, man.
Hey, we'll end it there, baby. Hey, like we always say, everyone has a story.
We're here for them to tell it.
Cleats to whistle
Podcast.
Let's go.